Beneath the peaceful surface of Victoria's most historic graveyards lies a chilling secret. These cemeteries don't just hold the dead, they whisper their stories. From ghostly figures wandering lonely headstones to mysterious sounds echoing through the trees, these haunted burial grounds have terrified locals and intrigued ghost hunters for decades. Are you brave enough to uncover the truth buried in the shadows? Let's step into the forgotten corners of Victoria where the past refuses to stay silent, and the dead may not be resting after all. If haunted tales sent chills down your spine, hit that subscribe button and join us for more ghostly journeys into the unknown. Ghosts don't miss what's lurking in the next story, it might be watching you. 1 Melbourne General Cemetery, Carlton. Melbourne General Cemetery is one of the oldest and most well-known cemeteries in Victoria, Australia. It is located in Carlton North, just a few kilometres from Melbourne's city centre. The cemetery was established in 1852 and covers around 43 hectares of land. Over 300,000 people have been buried here, including many important figures from Australian history. It is not only a place of rest but also a location rich in history, emotion, and ghost stories that have fascinated visitors for years. Many people believe that Melbourne General Cemetery is haunted. This belief comes from the fact that the cemetery holds so much history, with thousands of graves, some dating back to the 1800s. Stories of ghost sightings and strange experiences have been shared by locals, tourists, and even cemetery staff. Some people have reported seeing shadows moving between the graves at night, hearing whispers with no one around, and feeling sudden cold spots even on warm days. These stories may not be officially proven, but they have become part of the cemetery's legend. One of the most talked about graves is that of Frederick Federici, an opera singer who collapsed and died during a performance at the Princess Theatre in 1888. Many people believe his spirit returned to the theatre after death, but his final resting place is at Melbourne General Cemetery. Another notable grave is of Burke and Wills, the famous explorers who died during their expedition across Australia. Their story is full of tragedy and mystery, which adds to the eerie feeling many get when visiting their graves. The cemetery's atmosphere plays a big role in its haunted reputation. With its old tombstones, tall trees, and quiet pathways, it feels like stepping into another time. At night, the silence and shadows make it even more haunting. Some say they have seen a woman in white walking between the headstones. Others claim to hear footsteps behind them, only to find no one there. Even during the day, the feeling of being watched is something many visitors have described. In recent years, the cemetery has become part of several ghost tours and historical walks. These tours share stories of the people buried there and the strange happenings that have been reported. While some attend for the history, others come hoping to experience something supernatural for themselves. Whether or not the ghosts are real, there is no doubt that Melbourne General Cemetery leaves a deep impression on those who visit. Overall, Melbourne General Cemetery is more than just a graveyard. It is a place full of stories, of life, death, and possibly the afterlife. Its haunted reputation is built on years of history, mysterious deaths, and unexplained events. For those interested in the paranormal or the past, it is one of the most fascinating and chilling places to explore in Victoria. 2 Wangaratta Cemetery, Victoria. Wangaratta Cemetery is located in the rural city of Wangaratta, in northeastern Victoria, Australia. It has been serving the community since the 1800s and is the final resting place for many early settlers, soldiers, and local families. The cemetery is quiet and peaceful during the day, with rows of headstones surrounded by trees and open sky. But over the years, strange stories have given this cemetery a spooky reputation, especially among locals who believe it may be haunted. One of the most mysterious events connected to Wangaratta involves the discovery of a headless body in the nearby Ovens River in 1938. The body was later linked to a man named Maurice Joseph O'Connor, also known as the Headless Corpse. While the burial site is not confirmed to be at Wangaratta Cemetery, the case shocked the small town and sparked rumors that his spirit still lingers in the area. Some believe that his restless soul haunts the cemetery or the nearby riverbank, especially at night. Locals have shared stories of strange experiences when visiting the cemetery after dark. People have reported hearing unexplained footsteps, whispering voices in the wind, and even seeing dark figures standing between the graves. Others have described a heavy feeling, as if someone is watching them, even when the cemetery appears empty. These kinds of stories have become part of local folklore, passed down from one generation to the next. During the day, the cemetery looks calm and quiet, but at night, it transforms into a place full of mystery. The wind through the trees, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot, and the shadows cast by the moon create an eerie feeling. Some people who have visited at night say they felt too scared to stay for long. Even those who don't believe in ghosts admit that the place gives off a strange energy. Wangaratta Cemetery is also home to many graves from the 19th and early 20th centuries. Some headstones are cracked or leaning, while others are covered in moss and hard to read. These old graves, combined with the cemetery's age and the surrounding nature, add to the sense of history and mystery. It feels like a place where the past is still very present. Although there are no official ghost tours or paranormal investigations regularly held here, the stories continue to grow. Whether these experiences are real or imagined, the cemetery remains a place of interest for those who are curious about haunted places in Victoria. For some, it's just a peaceful burial ground, but for others, it's a place where spirits may still wander. Wangaratta Cemetery may not be famous across the country, but its ghost stories and chilling atmosphere make it one of the most intriguing and quietly haunted cemeteries in Victoria. 3 Eldorado Cemetery, Eldorado, Victoria. Eldorado Cemetery is located in the small town of Eldorado in northeastern Victoria, Australia. This town was once a busy gold mining area during the 1800s, attracting many fortune seekers from around the world. Today, Eldorado is a quiet and peaceful place, but its cemetery holds the stories of those who lived and died during those rough and dangerous gold rush times. The cemetery itself is small and old, with weathered headstones, uneven ground, and tall grasses surrounding many of the graves. Many of the people buried at Eldorado Cemetery lived during a time when life was harsh and full of struggle. The gold rush brought wealth for some but tragedy for many others. Miners worked in dangerous conditions and faced accidents, illness, and even violence. Disease was also common, and many families lost children and loved ones at a young age. These painful histories make the cemetery feel heavy with emotion, and some locals believe that this energy still lingers there today. There are stories from people in the area who say they have experienced strange things at the cemetery, especially at night. Some have claimed to see shadowy figures moving between the graves, while others report hearing whispers or the sound of footsteps on the gravel paths, even when no one else is around. A few have said they suddenly felt very cold, or as though someone was standing behind them, only to turn around and see nothing there. These events are not officially recorded, but they have become part of the local ghost stories shared over the years. One reason people believe the cemetery may be haunted is because of its connection to the hard lives and tragic deaths of those buried there. In the past, not all people received proper burials, and it's believed that some graves are unmarked or forgotten. Some think that the spirits of those who were not properly remembered may still wander the cemetery grounds. There is also an old belief that cemeteries near former mining sites are more likely to be haunted because of the history of loss and pain tied to them. Even though the cemetery is not large or well known, its quiet and remote setting adds to its eerie feeling. During the day, it may seem like a place of rest and reflection, but when the sun goes down, the tall gum trees and crumbling stones create long shadows and a sense of mystery. People who live nearby often say they would never walk past it at night, even if they don't fully believe in ghosts. Eldorado Cemetery is a place where history and the supernatural seem to come together. Whether or not it is truly haunted, the stories, the setting, and the sorrowful past all make it one of Victoria's most quietly chilling cemeteries. For Avenel Cemetery, Victoria. Avenel Cemetery is located in the small town of Avenel in Victoria, Australia. This peaceful rural cemetery might seem ordinary at first, but it holds deep historical roots and has gained quiet attention for the strange energy some people say surrounds it. Avenel is a town rich in Australian history, especially due to its connection with one of the most famous and controversial figures in the country, Ned Kelly. His family lived in Avenel during his early years, and his younger brother and father are buried in this very cemetery. The cemetery dates back to the mid-1800s and includes the graves of many pioneers, children, and settlers who lived during the tough colonial days. Among them is John "Red" Kelly, Ned Kelly's father, who died when Ned was just a boy. Visitors to the cemetery often come not only to see the graves but also to feel a connection to Australia's bushranger past. The weathered headstones and the stories carved into them create a feeling that the past is still very much alive here. Many locals and visitors have reported a strange stillness in Avenel Cemetery. It's not just the quiet of the countryside, it's something deeper. Some people say they feel watched when walking between the graves. Others speak of hearing soft voices or footsteps when they are alone. A few even say they've seen a tall, shadowy figure standing near Red Kelly's grave, vanishing the moment they look again. These stories are not widely publicized, but they are shared in whispers, passed down through the town like old family secrets. There's also something unique about the landscape around the cemetery. Surrounded by old gum trees and sometimes covered in mist during the colder months, it feels like time stops when you're standing there. On some evenings, the setting sun casts strange shadows that stretch between the graves, making the place look more like a forgotten dream than a resting place. It's the kind of atmosphere that inspires ghost stories and fuels curiosity. Another eerie detail is that some believe the restless spirit of Red Kelly never left. They say that because his death was hard on young Ned, the sorrow and injustice of those early days may have left a lasting mark. Not just on Ned, but on the land itself. Whether or not this is true, the energy around his grave often makes people pause, reflect, and sometimes even shiver. Avenel Cemetery may not be famous for dramatic hauntings or ghost tours, but it holds a unique power. Its quietness is unsettling in a poetic way, as if the land remembers everything and is waiting to whisper its secrets. It's a place where history and mystery blend so well that even the silence feels like part of the story. 5 Bright Cemetery, Bright, Victoria. Bright Cemetery is located in the picturesque town of Bright in Victoria, Australia. Surrounded by mountains, trees, and rolling hills, the cemetery looks peaceful and calm, especially during the day. However, behind its beauty lies a long history of sadness, loss, and a few strange events that have made some people believe the cemetery might be haunted. It holds the graves of early settlers, gold miners, war veterans, and many local families who lived and died in the region over the last 150 years. The town of Bright was once a busy gold mining area in the 1800s, attracting people from all over the world hoping to find fortune. But life during those times was very hard. Many people died young due to mining accidents, diseases, and harsh living conditions. Children were often the first to fall ill. In fact, many of the graves in Bright Cemetery belonged to young children who passed away from things like whooping cough or fever. The sadness connected to these graves gives the cemetery a deep emotional atmosphere that some visitors find unsettling. There have been quiet stories shared over the years about strange feelings and sounds in the cemetery. Some visitors say they have felt sudden cold breezes on warm days, or a sense that someone was walking beside them, even though no one was there. A few people have said they heard soft crying near the older graves, especially those of children. Others have noticed flashes of movement from the corner of their eye, but when they turned to look, nothing was there. These experiences are not common, but they continue to be mentioned by those who visit regularly or live nearby. At night, the cemetery takes on a very different feeling. The peaceful mountain views turn dark and quiet. The tall trees and old gravestones cast long shadows, and the silence feels heavy. Locals often say they avoid going near the cemetery after sunset, not because of fear, but out of respect for the dead. Some believe that the spirits of those who died in sadness may still wander the cemetery grounds, especially the children who were taken too soon. The cemetery is also known for its beautiful location and well-kept appearance. People come to walk among the graves, reflect on the past, and learn about the town's history. But for those interested in the paranormal, Bright Cemetery offers more than just old headstones. It offers a quiet mystery, one that can only be felt in person, especially when the sun begins to set and the shadows begin to stretch. While Bright Cemetery may not be filled with terrifying ghost tales, its deep history and emotional weight make it one of the most quietly haunted places in Victoria. It's a place where beauty and sorrow live side by side, and where the past never truly feels gone. 6. Steiglitz Pioneer Cemetery, Victoria. Steiglitz Pioneer Cemetery is located in the historic gold mining town of Steiglitz in Victoria, Australia. This small cemetery is hidden among bushland and surrounded by tall gum trees, making it feel very isolated and quiet. It dates back to the mid-1800s and holds the graves of some of the earliest European settlers and miners who came to the area during the Victorian gold rush. Many of the people buried here lived difficult lives and died young due to accidents, illness, or the hard conditions of life on the goldfields. The cemetery is very old and many of the graves are unmarked or have headstones that are broken, faded, or leaning. There are graves of entire families, including small children who died during disease outbreaks. Walking through the cemetery feels like stepping back in time. The silence of the bush, the sound of birds, and the old graves create a strange and powerful atmosphere. Some visitors have described it as peaceful, while others say it feels heavy, like the past is still present. Over the years, there have been quiet reports of strange things happening in and around the cemetery. People have claimed to feel sudden chills, hear footsteps on the gravel paths, or feel like they are being watched, even though they are alone. Some say they have seen shadowy figures between the trees or glimpsed movement behind the gravestones. These stories are not officially recorded, but they are shared among locals, hikers, and visitors who explore the area. One reason many believe the cemetery may be haunted is because of the suffering that happened during the gold rush. The miners worked long hours in dangerous conditions, and many never found the riches they hoped for. Families lived in tents or small huts and struggled to survive. When people died, they were sometimes buried quickly and without proper records. It's believed that some of the graves in Steiglitz Pioneer Cemetery belong to people who were never properly identified or remembered. This idea leads some to believe that restless spirits may still wander the area. The town of Steiglitz itself is now mostly a ghost town, with only a few buildings remaining. The whole area feels frozen in time, which adds to the mystery of the cemetery. People who visit say it feels like the spirits of the past are still there, quietly watching. Some even report strange dreams or uneasy feelings after visiting, especially if they stayed near the cemetery at dusk or after dark. Even though there are no official ghost tours at Steiglitz, the cemetery is often visited by those interested in history or the paranormal. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Pioneer Cemetery is a powerful reminder of the struggles and stories of those who came before. It remains one of Victoria's most quietly eerie and historic burial grounds. 7. Ballarat New Cemetery, Victoria. Ballarat New Cemetery is located in the historic city of Ballarat in Victoria, Australia. Ballarat is well known for its gold rush past and was once one of the richest towns in the country during the 1800s. The cemetery was officially opened in 1867 and is still in use today. It is a large and well-maintained cemetery, with many sections, including areas for war veterans, babies, and different religious and cultural groups. Although it is peaceful during the day, the cemetery has a long history that includes stories of sadness, loss, and strange events that have led some people to believe it may be haunted. Ballarat was the site of many tragic events during the gold rush, including mining accidents, fires, and outbreaks of disease. Many people died far from home, and some were buried without their families ever knowing what happened to them. Ballarat New Cemetery holds thousands of graves, including those of miners, settlers, and soldiers from both world wars. There are also graves of children who died young, a common occurrence during that time due to poor living conditions and lack of medical care. Over the years, there have been reports of paranormal activity in and around the cemetery. Some people have claimed to see shadowy figures walking among the graves or standing near the trees late at night. Others have heard voices whispering, footsteps on the gravel, or even crying sounds with no one nearby. Some visitors have also said they felt a cold breeze suddenly pass by, even on warm, still nights. While these stories are not officially confirmed, they are often shared during local ghost tours and by those who live in the area. The cemetery is also linked to nearby haunted sites in Ballarat, such as the Ballarat Old Cemetery and the Old Lunatic Asylum. Because the city has such a rich and sometimes dark history, many people believe that spirits may still be connected to the land. Ballarat is known as one of the most haunted cities in Australia, and the new cemetery plays a quiet but important part in that reputation. At night, the cemetery can feel very eerie. The large trees, the rows of graves, and the deep silence can make people feel uncomfortable or unsettled. Some say they avoid walking through the cemetery after dark because of the strange feeling it gives them. Others are drawn to it, hoping to feel something or catch a glimpse of the unexplained. Ballarat New Cemetery is more than just a resting place. It is a part of the city's history, filled with stories of both life and death. Whether or not it is truly haunted, the cemetery carries the emotions of the past and continues to attract those curious about the unseen. 8 Brighton General Cemetery, Melbourne. Brighton General Cemetery is located in Caulfield South, a suburb of Melbourne, Victoria. It was established in 1854 and is one of the oldest cemeteries in the city. The cemetery is large and has over 160,000 people buried there, including many important and well-known Australians. It is beautifully designed with wide paths, old trees, and grand monuments, but behind the peaceful appearance, there are stories that make some people believe it could be haunted. This cemetery is known for its historical value. Many soldiers from World War I and World War II are buried here. There are also famous figures such as politicians, artists, and doctors. Some of the graves are more than 150 years old, and many have unique and detailed headstones. Walking through the cemetery feels like walking through history. But with that history also comes sadness, especially around the graves of young children, families who died during pandemics, and soldiers who never returned home. Over the years, people have shared stories of strange feelings and experiences while visiting Brighton General Cemetery. Some visitors have said they felt like someone was following them, even though the cemetery was empty. Others claim they heard whispers in the wind or saw flashes of movement among the graves. A few people have said their cameras or phones stopped working while inside the cemetery, only to work again once they left. These stories are not officially proven, but they have added to the mystery surrounding the cemetery. One of the reasons people believe the cemetery may be haunted is because of the large number of unmarked or forgotten graves. In the past, not everyone could afford a proper headstone. Some people were buried quickly during health outbreaks, like the Spanish flu, without proper records. This has led some to believe that the spirits of those forgotten may still wander the grounds. The cemetery is also very quiet, especially during early mornings or evenings. The silence, combined with the sound of rustling trees and distant birds, creates an eerie feeling. Some locals say they avoid walking past it at night, while others are drawn to its mysterious energy. Paranormal investigators have visited the site in the past and reported strange equipment readings and unexplained sounds, although no official ghost tours are held there. Despite its haunted stories, Brighton General Cemetery is a respected and well-maintained place. People visit to pay respects, learn about history, or simply walk through its peaceful paths. But for those who are sensitive to energy or curious about the supernatural, it can feel like a place where the past still lingers. Whether haunted or not, the cemetery remains one of Melbourne's most fascinating and quietly unsettling historical sites. 9 Valhalla Cemetery Valhalla, VIC. Valhalla Cemetery is located in the small, historic town of Valhalla in Victoria, Australia. This town was once a busy gold mining settlement during the 1800s, with thousands of people living and working there. Today, Valhalla is quiet and peaceful, but its cemetery is one of the most unique and haunting in the country. Built on a steep hillside, the cemetery offers views of the surrounding forest and mountains, but its sloped ground and isolated location give it a strange and eerie feeling that many visitors never forget. The cemetery dates back to the gold rush days, with the first burials happening in the 1860s. Life in Valhalla was very hard, and many people died young from mining accidents, disease, or poor living conditions. There are over 1,300 people buried in the cemetery, and some of the graves are those of children, miners, and people who came from far away to seek fortune but never returned home. Some graves are marked with simple wooden crosses, while others have worn stone headstones. Because of its age, many of the graves are hard to read or have been partly covered by nature over time. One of the most interesting things about Valhalla Cemetery is how difficult it was to bury people there. The ground is so steep that graves had to be dug by hand using ropes and tools to stop workers from sliding down the hill. Coffins had to be lowered carefully, and funerals were often difficult and dangerous. This unusual setup gives the cemetery a dramatic appearance, and it adds to the sad and mysterious feeling many people experience when they visit. There are many ghost stories linked to the cemetery and the town of Valhalla itself. Some visitors say they feel watched while walking through the graves, especially near the older sections. Others have heard footsteps behind them or whispers in the wind, even when they are alone. Some people claim to have seen shadowy figures standing between the trees or moving silently between headstones. These stories are not officially confirmed, but they have been shared by locals and tourists for years. Valhalla is known as one of the most haunted towns in Victoria, and the cemetery plays a big part in that reputation. The combination of the town's tragic past, the unusual shape of the cemetery, and the silence of the surrounding forest makes it feel like a place where the past is still alive. Paranormal investigators have visited Valhalla and believe that the cemetery holds strong spiritual energy. Even though Valhalla Cemetery is a place of rest, it is also a place of mystery. Whether or not the ghost stories are true, the feeling of sadness and history is very real. It remains one of the most unique and quietly haunting cemeteries in all of Victoria. 10 Fauner Memorial Park, Melbourne. Fauner Memorial Park is one of the largest and most important cemeteries in Melbourne, Victoria. It is located in the suburb of Fauner, near Hadfield, and was officially opened in 1906. Since then, over 1 million people have been buried or cremated there, making it one of the busiest and most visited cemeteries in Australia. It is a peaceful and well-kept place with large gardens, tree-lined paths, chapels, and quiet areas for families to visit their loved ones. But despite its beauty, Fauner Memorial Park also has a dark and mysterious side that some believe makes it haunted. The cemetery is filled with history. It includes war memorials, sections for different cultures and religions, and graves of many well-known people. There are also graves of early settlers, prisoners, and those who died under tragic or unusual circumstances. Because of the huge number of burials and the range of life stories, some people believe that not all spirits resting here are at peace. This idea has led to many ghost stories being shared by visitors and workers over the years. Some of the stories include people seeing shadowy figures walking quietly between the graves or sitting near the memorial walls. Others have heard soft voices or footsteps in empty areas. A few visitors have felt a sudden drop in temperature or a strange feeling of being watched, especially near the older parts of the cemetery. There are also tales of car doors locking or alarms going off for no reason while parked nearby. While these events have not been officially investigated, they are often mentioned in online forums and by local paranormal groups. Fauner Memorial Park is also connected to the old railway line that once brought coffins to the cemetery by train. The special mortuary train service ran from Melbourne city centre to Fauner and stopped running in the 1930s. Some say the old railway station area is haunted by spirits who arrived on the final journeys of those trains. The history of this part of the cemetery adds another layer to its spooky reputation. Despite the ghost stories, most people visit Fauner Memorial Park to remember loved ones, reflect, or learn about Melbourne's history. It is a place of respect and care, with well-managed gardens and helpful staff. However, those who are more sensitive to spiritual energy often say they feel something unusual while walking through certain areas, especially near the older graves and war memorials. Whether or not you believe in ghosts, there is no doubt that Fauna Memorial Park holds deep emotional energy. Its size, history, and quiet beauty make it a powerful and sometimes haunting place to visit. For those interested in the paranormal, it remains one of Victoria's most fascinating and quietly eerie cemeteries.